Good afternoon and welcome to yet another self-discovery session. And today it would be by Amrutha, her self-discovery 1.0. I continue to believe that one of the best thing that has happened in my life is genetic brain profiling. Not only that, it gave me a guidance and gave a better idea about myself and the people around me. It gave me a lot of surprising, gifts. I would call it as uh, many people who came into my life came only because of genetic brain profiling. Me being personally being an introvert, I have lived a life of more solitary, very limited human contacts, and very much obsessed and possessed with the kind of work that I was doing. But I think in the last 10 years, the life that I have gone through has given a new dimension in my life, and that has given me a very interesting life experiences. That has happened because of so many who came into my life, into my profession as a customer, and who has turned into a family member, and obviously a professional who is traveling with me as a co passenger kind of experience. And like that, surprising many who came far away from me, geographically very distant, and yet they got connected, and now they are part of the MiDNA family. I'm very happy to discuss, to think about this relationship that I have built. Many came, few stuck with me, and I'm sure their experience that they had with MiDNA Global won't really go away from their life. Maybe physically they may be busy with something else. Emotionally they may be obsessed with something else. But I think neurologically, genetic brain profiling and MiDNA experience has made a great difference in their life, and I'm very happy about it. And I must say at this point of time, the idea behind saying this is one fine day, Amrutha and her mother walked in, really without much of appointments and kind of thing. Very vague, cold meeting, I would call it as. They traveled 10, 15 kilometers away from me, and they reached me, and we had a almost 1.5 hour discussion on what is that we are doing here, and what kind of life that we are living. All that I could find time sharing. I am a strong believer, if you don't have any expectations, I think the results when they happen, they are definitely more pleasant and rewarding and surprising as well. So Amrita also had spent quite a good time with us, but they did not commit anything. I just gave them some inputs for them to think over. And then I think one day she called and wanted us to say that I would like to go through this genetic brain profiling and learn more about it. I'm sure her past few months of experience with MiDNA Global and genetic brain profiling and learning about it has definitely changed a big quantum of experience, not only to Amrita as well as her sister and the family members and their relatives as well. So very interesting, another interesting personality, I must call it as. And very rarely we come across kind of children that we are going to listen from today. So they're all gifted with some qualities, some skills that others are very longing. They may be, somebody may be dreaming to have this personality, and she has it, and it has its own challenges and advantages as well. And it would be very interesting to hear from her about her brain design, with a very interesting deviation, I would call it as. And we had one person before this who had a similar kind of X in the left temporal. I would like to comment about her in the final, my concluding remarks. For now, we should go ahead and listen to what Amrita has to say about her. If you are comfortable, you can put your video on and speak. But if you are not, then you can keep it mute. I have no problem. It's your choice. Go ahead, Amrutha.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir. So this is regarding my self-discovery 1.0. So as sir said, my introduction to MiDNA was not very planned and all. So the self-discovery, I think it is all about unwinding about one's own self and really getting to know what is actually there. So when sir said that during our meeting that you can study the brain functions through the fingerprints, it was quite very curious for me. So, and I think all the things are already preset. It is all, it is genetic, it is all inherent. So it is all preset. So nothing can change much. But still, why we need to know about this is, for me, it was more about the self-awareness. So where it was my strength, where it was my weakness. That was exactly what I came to know. And even with my family members, like we all belong to the same family, but still we had different patterns. So that delivered different emotions, the emotional output, the all the outputs were all completely different. So like after understanding the report, I was able to relate to like how they were responding and all. So I think it is for more of self-analysis. It has really helped me. And so it was. I was working previously before in a pharmaceutical industry, but I did have some reasons to quit the job. And even at the time of quitting the job, I did not have any other job on hand. So even after quitting my job, I came to my hometown, and even after that, for 2, 3 months, I did not have anything on hand. But still, I had some hope that I wanted to do something that serves really the purpose. Like even if one thing was, it shouldn't cause whatever work I do, it should not cause any negative impact. On the other hand, it should also I should also try to improve upon my own self, and also it should be on a very purposeful manner. So that is what I was really waiting for that opportunity. I did not have any rush and all, but practically it seemed like it was not possible, because any kind of work will have its own pros and cons. But I'm happy and I'm glad that I got to know about MiDNA, and I'm now going through that. So I did not expect that this to happen, but it all happened. So I think that it is meant to happen. That is why it has happened. And I wish I am able to learn a lot more things from through MiDNA. And to start with the report, and this is my mother's report, where I've understood things that I was not able to relate with her when she was reacting. So after seeing this, I understood that her communication, her energy in the temporal is the highest. So before GBP, I was understanding that she did have some good communication skills. But after GBP, the difference is like I'm able to relate in what sort of mental state she could be while reacting in a completely different pattern. So she's a left brainer, more towards a very, she's a very logical or very analytical person, not very open and all. So even if she's an introvert, through her communication skills, she would be able to manage even if she is in a wide group of people. And when it comes to me and my sister, we both have both fast processors. So here she has moderate and normal processors. So this actually helped us particularly during the education, like during the curriculum was going on. So when we were in school, we used to like only when there is a particular focus the output would be there. So, and it was very helpful. Her method was like she used to be very particular. She used to be very stick to the protocol. There should be no change, no frequent changes then and there. Whatever is the protocol, it has to be followed. But for us, we tend to postpone things. So, and as kids, it was all very normal. But she made it a point that there is we shouldn't lose anything because we are postponing it. So she made it a point, and I think this part has really helped us very well. And coming to the smartness profile, yes, her word and nature are really high. Whenever she's communicating, it used to be very clear, not she used to communicate to the point directly. And the articulation, the verbalizing capacity is very good. I've admired a lot because though she's being an introvert, whenever she wants to initiate a conversation, it used to be very easy for her to initiate a conversation and go on and communicate whatever she thinks. And the other thing is, if at all she's not able to communicate, or if at all she's not able to vent out through words, she used to get stressed up. So even if there is no point in whenever she's communicating, even if because of that stress, or she used to get irritated, or she used to get stressed very easily because she's very particular. So if one single thing it is not falling into place, she used to get very irritated. So I think in one side of this, it actually helped us it was very beneficial for us. And yeah, coming to the learning domains, the IQ is, the intellectual quotient is very high. So since she's whatever she thinks it is correct, she will be able to communicate it very clearly. So it also it also enhances the attachment with the people also. And she's a bit sensitive also. So whenever she's triggered, that also would be the output or what would be mostly through the communication only. And coming to the disk profile, her dominance and compliance had equal strength. So whenever she does anything, be it cooking or be it cleaning, whatever it is, the way she will always have a plan what to do and what not to do. So not only completing the task is important, but also the quality, the accuracy is also very important. And when it comes to the resource management or the money management also, she is very particular in that. What even if the thing is, whenever she's doing this accounts, or whenever she's noting down things, it has to be in a very proper manner. So whenever she spends, or whenever there is an expense, if at all, she used to see the quality of the product. So if the product quality is there, if the long life is there, she would not frequently do the shopping and all, but once if she does it should be on purpose. It should serve the purpose. It would be like that. And yes, more towards, she's like whenever a task or whenever whatever she does, she listens. And since her temporal energy is high, it sometimes she used to dominate through words. So whatever she thinks, she is able to communicate. And whatever she does it in a very planned or very organized pattern. So, but for me, it is quite difficult because even though I do not have 2-3 plans, I try to find it out on my own. But what she does is she will already have a plan and only follow that. And she's more having reflective nature. So whatever she has practiced, whatever she has experienced, based upon that, all the decisions would be taken. She doesn't want anything to go in the wrong way. If there is a loss, if there is something what she expects. If it is not happening, then automatically to one point it will bring to her, and she will continuously think about it. And her coming to her MGBA, she is an introvert, but through her communication skills, she can easily cope up with people and communicate very easily. And and through this, so most of the inputs, whatever she gets, it is through the sensory more than the intuitive part. Because whatever she practices, there is not much change. She doesn't allow much change to happen. So whatever she has seen, whatever she has experienced, whatever she does, that input is that has the major contribution. And when coming to the decision making, it is all towards the thinking part. So, like very logical, whatever has to be delivered, it will be delivered to the point. And yes, she is very judgmental, not a very casual approach, not that kind of a person. See, through the communication, it might seem that she's a bit open to choices, but actually, she will have a particular pattern. So only she's ready to follow that pattern anytime. But if any changes comes in, it is a bit difficult for her to accept that. And coming to my sister, she is more of a right brainer. So uh, actually, she's also both me and my sister both are focused learners. So here, and both tend to procrastinate a lot. So here, actually, the guidance or the inputs from all the teachers and also at home from my mother, it all helped a lot for a good performance in the academics. So she here has low potential in primary and secondary, but the adaptiveness is high. But always there needs to be a push. So if there is something to be done for 2 3 times, she will do it only for once, and she would tell that since she has got it, she will not do it. But the push that is being from the academic side, from the schools, from the teachers, and from my mother, it has really helped. And all the output that she has given has a major contribution from the people around. So from the push or from the motivation that is around. And yeah, here she has the highest energy in the visuals. So whatever she does, she will more correlate it with colors, or she would whatever she learns, or what while writing down whatever she's learning, even in that process, she would used to draw it in the way she understands. She would use colors. She would draw it in a very pictorial manner. If some data is given in a pictorial representation in a very colorful manner, she used to grasp it very easily. And the writing part and the reading part, really she had a very big challenge, because she cannot sit in one place and focus on doing the homework and all. So, but if there are some, if she uses colors, or if she uses, even today, she used to follow that. Whenever she is reading or whenever she is studying, she used to draw the diagrams, relate to it, and then only study. And yeah, her creativity quotient was very high, because whatever she does, she used to visualize it. She used to but in the people handling also, she used to have a very diplomatic approach, neither here nor there. So not very to the point, because she is more towards the emotional side. So uh, she would be very afraid that if she decides on, if she takes a stand, what if some other people, she might lose some other people, or she might some other people could misunderstand her. So that sort of fear factor she used to have, and that is why she doesn't take any stand when it comes to any people handling, and she handles it in a very diplomatic way. And he is very sensitive to the sound also, like whenever, even in home, even if it is a very casual conversation, if we tell something apart from like without knowing what it is actually said, what the matter is, she used to automatically focus on the tone of the people. So when if the tone is very comfortable, she used to hear. If it is not, then she can easily get distracted with the sound also. And coming to the disc profile, her influence is quite high. So she's an extrovert. So she will always need people around her. She will always need, whenever we tell very complimentary words, she would feel very happy. She would feel very much boosted up. And the attention seeking is quite high. She needs people around her. She needs her to be focused. So whenever it is low, she feels very lonely. So, but whenever we give very complimentary words, whenever we give the motivation, she used to feel very happy about it. And yeah, her strength is all. And coming to a reaspect profile, the enterprising, artistic, and social were all at a higher level because um, whenever she's with around people, she used to feel very happy. Though she cannot readily communicate, she will not communicate whatever she tells. She thinks to the point, but still, whenever she's with people, she used to see that she's very comfortable. And yes, coming to MGBA, she's an extrovert, and the most of the inputs also she used to take it from the whatever she hears and whatever she sees. Uh, that source of input, that the contribution is quite high. And coming to the decision making, it is more towards the feeling part. So very readily influenced by the emotional side. So depending upon the emotional level, she used to not very because she's very diplomatic in handling people, so she cannot take a stand. So according to that situation, according to that time, whatever she feels, she used to go for that. And she is also very perceptive, so not very following very standard protocol, not going like it is not that she is much more perceptive than being judgmental. So it is very easy for her to get distracted also, and she can easily postpone things. So I think here my mother's profile helped because she used to like if she used to tell things repeatedly, but I think that had fetched good results. This is regarding my self discovery. So I did my schooling in Bharati Vidya Bhavan, and I did my graduation in Avinash Lingam University. So UG, I did study BSc Biochemistry and Biotechnology. And MSc, I pursued in Biotechnology. And work experience for about 10 months, I was working as a trainee in the biology department in the pharmaceutical company. So, in regarding my profile, what I understood is I was lucky enough that I chose science because I was not interested in any other subject, and because I was very curious about science because it used to keep on upgrading. It will have so many updates. So I was naturally attracted towards science. And yeah, I also have this. I'm also a focused learner, so the typical state board syllabus was not a very challenging. Me and my sister, we both had been in either CBSE or something like that, any other mode of schooling, then that could have been difficult. And during my school days, I really had very good teachers and very good guidance. So what I used to do is even if I even if my parents do not come and sit in front of me, I used to ask them to come and sit with me while I'm doing the homework because I understood that if they are simply, even if they are simply sitting there, I would not get distracted that much, and I would complete it within the particular time space. And I do have a very low potential in the primary and secondary, but I did manage well because here my adaptiveness is quite good. And all the teachers were also much more dependence on the teachers were there. So it actually helped me a lot. So the major contribution comes from the teacher side. And in the university, I did not feel that very difficult because the subject that I chose was out of my own interest, and it was quite easy for me to go with the university, with the graduation. I did not have that much. Uh, I did not put that much effort that I did it in schooling. That was quite easy in my university, and yeah, both of the speed is fast. So it is I whenever I take a decision or whenever I go for something, whenever I do it in action, I do not think twice or thrice. It is only once. So what I used to think is whatever it is, let us go and face it, and from that let us take the input. It used to be like that, and the the learning part, the more internal learning was there. So this actually helped me in the graduation. So more to like if an outline is given, I used to I used to visualize and I used to understand how it could be. What are the possibilities that it could be this way? So that sort of learning was on the higher side. And yes, just coming to the study preference, comparatively, the pictorial study mode is actually very useful for me. Like it worked really good for me because reading part it is very difficult. So if it is some data is given in a page-wise manner of it is very difficult for me to read a book. Rather, if it is some data or if it is some diagrams or some representations, then it will be very easy for me to understand. So choosing a science-based subject, all these things added very big, it all became a very big advantage for me. And yes, coming to the subject preferences, here both the interest and potential is quite good in science. But I actually did not get into any other subjects luckily. Whenever I read or whenever I'm focused with science, it was very interesting. But whenever I read history or whenever I read commerce or anything like that, it used to be very dry. So it would be very more of input would be needed. But if it is related to science, then more of curiosity or more of inquisitiveness would be on the higher side. So I chose the biology subject in the school, and with maths, the mentors or the teachers, I was more dependent on them. So whatever input they gave, it was also on the higher side. So I was able to cope up with whatever their input. So whatever they did from their part, I thought I should also go with them. That is when the higher output was there. And coming to the memory, working memory is very high. So it is like the memory that I have is very selective memory. Like whatever, if something that interests me, if I get to know about it, I myself would try to get more information about it. So that it is very selective memory. So that kind of things that I used to remember. But when it comes to the long-term memory, it is very. I would really have no idea about what happened. It is that poor. So only things that I do on a regular basis, or only if it had created any impact, then it would be very high, very strong. That memory could be very strong. So other than that, the long-term memory is really very low. And this is the lobe-wise energy. And uh, here, whenever I wanted to communicate, or whenever I wanted to initiate a communication, there is always a big challenge. So if at all I am given a task that has a very big challenge, or if it is a very difficult task, I will go for that rather than initiating a communication. So it is that difficult for me. So I was I understood that it is it had the X had a major role for that. I did not really. I thought it was a very. I thought it was since it is. I thought it was very. According to the environment, it would change. I thought it would be like that, but I never expected that there would be such a strong proof that could really tell that there is a lag in the communication, there is a challenge in the communication. So here the energy, the frequency is quite high. So uh, whatever I, and at the front end it is very comparatively low. So what I do not, whatever it is, I do not think or twice or thrice, or I do not have two, three plans. And what if one does not work? It is never like that. So whatever I think, I immediately go and execute it. And if at all it is more challenging, the more curious I am. So if at all there is a challenge, I wouldn't think it as a hurdle, but I would more wantedly to go for it and try it, and then come across it. So this is where the challenge comes within my family also. So my mother, she's very good at communication. So even if she tells me to communicate to some other person, it is very difficult for me. Even within the family, that I am the least person to communicate or to initiate a communication. So what if at all I realize that I'm getting noticed or I'm getting attention, I really get very nervous. So whenever I have to, I tried my best to avoid any communication. So it was that to that extent, I literally avoid any communication, and at times that could have been impacted in a very different manner. So whenever I think something and whenever I deliver, I think that I've delivered it in a better manner. But for the other person, even be it my sister or be it my mother, it would have been completely delivered in a very different manner. So these are the challenges that I understood from this graph. Yes. Coming to the smartness profile, the cosmic smart is quite high. So, and then comes the nature smart. So, I always feel that there is always something apart from the human mind. There is something that is really working apart from the human mind. So whenever there is something apart or something much on the higher level, the the output that I give also should serve that purpose. That was my thought process. So uh, whenever there is like whatever I do for my own self, it should develop me also, and it should be open to, it should bring a very positive response also. So whenever I see a development, it should, I think it should, it should have much more balance. And yeah, and this I actually felt, I realized it more when this COVID was there. So there was a tree near my house, and it was all completely infected. So it was just a roadside tree, so nobody cared for it. And the only option that I thought was just to uproot the tree. That is how the other trees can also survive. That is what I thought. But during this COVID lockdown and all, for 4 5 months, there was no people going out and no pollution, nothing was there. So after 4 5 months, when I saw the tree, I was much surprised and shocked at the same time. The tree was full of life, full of energy, all young leaves, full of green, and it was all full fresh again. So that moment, that is when I realized that uh, the damage that have been done to the nature. So that sort of high damage the nature has undergone, and it just needed its own time to rejuvenate. And even after that getting completely infected, it still had some hope, and still it rejuvenated into a completely new tree. There was no traces of that tree was that badly infected. So that is when I realized that the uh, development should really coincide with the nature, not to go against with the nature. Because if something goes against with the nature, again it would come back. So when it reacts in that bad, when it comes out and it would be very bad. The output, it cannot be managed by all, even if all the people are there, it cannot be managed. That is where I think this COVID has taught me a lesson. In anything, whatever happens, that nothing is going to be permanent. So, or whatever, even if I'm very happy, or if something not very favorable happens, I feel the same. Because only if there is this thought process, only when there is unfavorable condition, that is also not balanced. So even if I'm very much happy, I tend to stand very low, because anything can change at any moment. So I do not want I'm not I do not want to tell that I always have got was very bad experiences. So whatever has happened, only what I do, I get it back. So I think I should be always very ready to accept whatever comes, and without any expectation, the higher purpose should be served. That is what I've thought. And one thing that I'm very happy and very satisfied about after joining MiDNA was this purpose. I think it can be solved only through things like this. So there is always a connect. Nothing happened. This is not very planned, me coming into MiDNA, but still there is some purpose for it. So I think in that way, I feel the higher purpose will definitely be solved, and for me, my self-satisfaction would also be on the higher side. And coming to the learning domains, like I'm more of an introspective person. So whatever happens, I used to visualize, or I used to think about what would be the output. If that output is really necessary, I would go for it. If it is just for time's sake, or just for entertainment, or just for any interaction, I would tend to avoid that. So if there is something that really it is necessary, I would visualize it, and then only I would go for it, not more of an interactive person. So wherever possible, I will try to only decrease the communication that I do. And yes, coming to the disk profile, here the dominance and influence was very high. So whenever I do a task, uh, I feel that I have to complete it whatever happens. So even if I'm working in a lab or something, so coming to the lab work, it might take time that more than the planned time. So everything cannot go according to the plan. So whenever there is a change in the plan, uh, it has to be accommodated also. So be it, even if it goes beyond the time, I try to focus it, and I try to complete it. So if there is a task that it has some risks, or it has its own challenges, I would be more curious to know about it, and more curious to try and get succeeded in that. And I don't know how many of my people who know me could have identified that I'm a quite it is natural that after seeing this report that I would be on the dominating side when it comes to the task. So when it comes to the task, I would not show it through communication, but the urge to prove it or the urge to complete it would be on the higher side. Only if I complete it, I could go for the next. It would be on that level. But once I start doing something, nothing should interfere. So whatever interference is there, if something interferes, then it used to trigger a lot. So whatever task I do, even if it is not, it will definitely not be in a very particular manner. But whatever shape it takes, the output should be on the positive side. So that completion of the task, that aggressiveness automatically comes into the task. And coming to the brain genetic behavior profile, yes, the persistence is quite higher than the sensitivity. And the more I feel that whatever task I have to do, only the initiation should be taken. It should be taken by me. So only when I start the work, it will get continued. If the work is being postponed or if the work is not completed, then it would create an anxiety. So if there is a task, there will be a time limit. So if I tend to procrastinate things, so this is where I start getting this anxiety, because if the task is not completed within that particular time, I used to get really very tense. I used to become very restless. So my procrastination would be a hurdle there, because initially, if there's a lot of time, I used to postpone things. But whenever there is a deadline, the things would pile up, and that is where I would face a challenge. So, but whatever the task is, it has to get completed. No more, not definitely. My idea would not be on how the procedure is, but the task, it should be completed. Even if there are expected or unexpected challenges, the task should be completed. That is how it would be. I'm not very on a very, it is always on a very casual note. So whatever comes, even if whatever comes in life, if it is anyway, it is going to be very unexpected. So whatever comes, I think it is with all happiness and with all cheerfulness, I wanted it to experience all it without any blaming or without any complaining. I wanted to experience it. So nothing, even if the worst situation, I would feel that it is not the end. There is always some hope. There is always some light. So it is always like that. So not even if at the very critical situation, it is not that it is very lethargic, but there is always something that can make the situation more better. So I would focus on things that can make this even the worst situation better. And coming to the RIASEC model, yes, the investigative and the enterprising are higher. So when it comes to the investigative, it is like always this how, why, what, and when. These questions would be running in my mind, whatever things I do. So the curiosity to know what it is, it should be, if something is very slow or something is very monotonous, it would really bore me so easily. So whatever is new, whatever is quite very challenging, quite very curious. Whenever there are a lot of questions, I easily get attracted towards it. So even in tasks that I do regularly, I get a lot of questions. So even if for example, even if I'm cooking, I would not. My mother, if she gets into the kitchen, she would pre-plan everything. This is what are all there. So this should be the outcome. So, but for me, it is never that way. For one time, it could be that way because my mother used to literally wants me to follow all the pattern. But for the second time or third time, I do the same job, it will not definitely not be in the same pattern. It will obviously be different. Even if I have no idea of what I'm doing, there would be some output. And again, that output would be, it will depend on the persons, or it will depend on the atmosphere, how it is actually. And coming to the enterprising, though there is a big challenge in the communication, it is not that when comparing it to my mother, I am not ready. I will not readily communicate very easily. So, but still, if at all I am in a group, if I'm in a team, so I would understand how the people, everybody will have different working styles. So I would, if there is a teamwork, I would try to understand how people work. So each and every individual, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses. So what kind of job could some certain people do. So according to that, I tend to delegate the job, and so I in that way I can improve the output. Though not communicating directly, I make it up that whatever in what way they feel comfortable, I will allot that kind of job, and through that the output would be much faster and much efficient. And coming to the strengths, yes, it is more towards the development. So if it's a very regular, very monotonous job, if it is like that, it is very difficult for me to get set into that. It would bore me very easily. So whatever it is new, whatever it has to keep changing. If something is like that, then it is very easy for me to go with it. And is my harmony index, it is 76.21. So uh, I after seeing this harmony index, I feel that it has to I have to work on in a more, I have to slow down. I have to think about what uh, how things are actually, how I feel, how am I executing it, how fast is the execution. So if I tend to slow down and just observe, I think it can be improved. And yes, since the enterprising is high, the entrepreneur suitability index is 61.9. So coming to the NGBA, the energy is slightly towards the extroversion. So, but whenever I do a task, if I do it on my own, or if I do it individually, I do it in a very efficient manner, and it would be quite faster. But when it comes to a teamwork, I would try to understand what the pattern of people are there, what kind of work it is. So how would it, uh, how would the work get executed? So I would visualize that and then get into the team, and then uh, make the output come out in a very positive way. So and then to the coming to the input, it is more. The input comes more from the internal, more from the intuitive. Then comparing to the sensing part, and the process is more diverging. So there is never a one-step solution. The options are always wide open. So there are chances to get more distracted or to go away from the core. But still, what I feel is whenever there are options, two, three options or two, three solutions, there is definitely one point to come out of it. So there would be never a one-step solution. So whatever, if at all there is a problem, I used to think two, three ways to find a solution. There is never a concrete, or there is never just one solution there. And coming to the decision making, it is more towards the thinking part. So the emotional influence, or the people-centric influence is not that high. Because whenever it comes to the decision, I think whatever is fair enough, whatever can be justified, that should be executed. So in that way, the thinking part is on the higher side, and the lifestyle is more perceptive. So a very casual or a very not very ordered, not very following the protocol and all. It is always very casual or not very serious. So if somebody is very serious or very judgmental, it would be very difficult for me to. I can understand them, but it is very difficult for me to accept whatever they say. So my mother here, she's a judgmental person. So I am a highly perceptive person. So sometimes I feel that it is being a bit hard. So it is, I can understand and understand from her shoes, but to accept it, I think it is difficult for me to accept, because whatever I see, it is very open to options. So it is not very converging. So in that point, I felt that it has been a bit hard. But yes, but the perceptiveness doesn't change, and the personality, the adaptiveness is quite high. So uh, this is the summary of the report, and yes, so the the Thanksgiving is a big list actually. So I wanted to thank the Almighty. I'm very happy that I've been given this platform. I thank the nature. I thank my all family members, all my ancestors for this genetic pattern. Uh, and there is a lot of input from my mentor, Mr. Suresh. So I did take some time to understand, but all these inputs have made me understand more deeper. So I think he has put in a lot of effort. So I've learned a lot from him also. And during the start sessions, all the sessions given by Ratnasamy sir was very deep and it was very sound. So how much ever we learn, I think it is not the degree, or it is not the position in that, how yet it should be very sound. It should be very normal, or it should be very reachable. It should be very understandable. So I think in that way, I have learned a lot from Ratnaswamy sir also, and I'm very glad that I've gone through a very good phase. There were challenges, but I would see more on the. I wanted to see more on the positive side, because the school that I studied and the university that I studied always started for a cause. They were all started for a very good cause to give education to the children, to give education to women. So I think even my tutors, even my teachers in the school and in the university, I had really had a very good guidance right from a very young stage. So that guidance, so this all is an output of that guidance. So I always wanted to satisfy whatever inputs that I have got. So I think that would lead to my own self-satisfaction. So yeah, thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Amrutha. Very nice, pleasant presentation. Now I would like to invite the family members to unmute and give your feedback, and then we can conclude the session with some observations and remarks. Yeah. Now the floor is open. Please ask if you have any doubts, explanation, or some clarification. You can put it across. If she is not able to, I will respond to that question. So whatever you saw, the very interesting 3 reports that she showed, I think a lot of questions, queries, opportunities to learn definitely is there. So any one of you have any such questions, you can put across, and we can discuss and get to know more about it. Now the floor is open. Please, speak. Yeah, I have put the poll also. Anyone interested in anyone? All of you, please respond, and I will still wait for a few minutes to hear from the audience the feedback, and then I'll conclude the session.
Good evening, all. Amrutha, you have done a great job. So your presentation is too good. So all the best. Keep practicing it regularly so that you can understand about your family and you can help others to transform. So you've done a good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Right. So first of all, thank you very much for this presentation. And before I say about this presentation, I think Suresh Babu has learned a lot about these reports. He has spent at least 5-10 hours in connecting a Zoom session, and I was expecting that they will come here personally for discussion. I think he has done it through the Zoom session itself. And so I think the major beneficiary in terms of understanding these profiles and connecting with them and explaining them and preparing them for the self-discovery. Even Amrutha's sister has given a testimonial during this an explanation and interpretation of the report. So I think Suresh can be given PhD for interpreting these 3 very complex reports. There is no feedback. I understand it is more because all the 3 reports that were presented is definitely of a very complex in nature, and all the 3 family members, so much, I would say, so much of conflicting, complementing brain, I would say, neurological expressions that were seen in this report was quite amazing. Okay, even I was bit, I would say, bit nervous in a way to handle this report when I saw Amrutha's report with the next one. I felt how I'm going to explain this girl about this report, because word smart is one of the most important smartness in the whole of Indian civilization, I would call it as. Because I haven't seen, or maybe I would say very few reports we have seen where the lowest of the all multiple intelligences is coming from the word smart. Okay, that's the distribution of brain patterns in this part of the world. In India, 90% of the people would have temporal lobe as number 1. The rest and all will be very, they'll come in the second position and the third position. The primary position will come, would have come in more than 90% of the brain designs have come with, temporal lobes being number 1. And we have come across few individuals whose right temporal SNX, and that we have seen 2-3 of them we have seen, but I personally think left temporal X1 is very, very rare, and I think that way sees a very unique brain in this part of the world, I would call it as. it is not very easy to explain someone. They would understand, but how to put it across in a session and give it as a presentation is the most difficult thing. I must admire, and in fact, I am a bit, surprised and shocked to see the quality of communication and conversations. Amrutha has made both in the Spark testimonial and as well as in this session. Her language and the conversation has been astonishingly excellent. That's what I would label it as. Because I am being more on the judgmental, if not very excessive, but I am an ISTJ. So I had a preconceived notion that she would have difficulty in, learning will happen. But to give a session presentation would be a little tough for her. That's what I was thinking before, this session, before her testimonial, I was thinking like that. After hearing the testimonial, I felt that she would be able to give her presentation also fairly enough. I think it has come more from the frontal and the prefrontal contributions. And the cognitive left prefrontal has utilized the reflective patterns that were found in the X1. Maybe I will share the pattern in the group later. The X1 also would have certain baseline parallel lines that are more reflective there. So I would take it as a learning or message for the day is, even if you have an X1 in any of the lobe, if the prefrontal is stronger, you will tend to use those reflective domains, and it is like a master and a slave in the same brain. Okay, the master is the prefrontal and the slave is the temporal lobe. So even if the primary processor is not there, still there is some reflective patterns that are available in the baseline, between the baseline and the delta. There would be some parallel lines. We call it as reflective patterns within the compartment, not as a separate domain, not as a separate lobe, but within the lobe you have the parallel lines. I think the prefrontal, especially the left prefrontal, which is the taskmaster, in the whole of the brain, left prefrontal is the boss of the brain, and sometimes it gets into outside the brain also. It happens. So I personally think if your left prefrontal is stronger, I think you have a great opportunity to work on your challenging areas and still produce the best out of it. It is like there is a difficulty, but you don't accept it as a difficulty and still extract the best out of it. It is like somebody says, I have not studied only for the exam. Still you say, you take a paper and write, do some nonsense also all right, but do something, it is all right, but don't leave a blank paper. Like that left temporal, that X1, the opposite of it is reflective. Actually, if you look into this, all these X1s and X2s, one side they are, like a flow. The opposite side, because there is no delta, it will act like a reflective one. So that reflectiveness and the reflective which is coming between the delta and the baseline, that is also reflective. So there is some amount of reflectiveness in there. That reflection is there in every lobe. But here, because the emulative is 0, all that has to come from is from the reflective component of the compartment. If you go back to seeing the fingerprint patterns, if you take the delta which comes like a letter C, like this, above this and below this, there are reflective patterns. You can go and notice it. Because this is put like this on an opposite direction. Still, what is above and what is below is still available. They are reflective in nature. They will just do whatever is being instructed by them. So I think a lot of managing the communication has come because of the challenges, inherent challenges. You don't want to say I can't do it, because a left prefrontal cognitive does not want to surrender that easily, and because of which they they do all kinds of possible ways of getting this communication and language. And I'm really surprised to see the level of English fluency which she has delivered. I used to believe and probably understand that left temporally is about English, grammar based languages. The right temporally is about mother tongues and the local Indian languages. So I had a preconceived notion that her English she might struggle with English and might ask for, shall I give the session in Tamil kind of thing I anticipated. And I'm happy that she overcame that limitation and the challenge. So yes, there are some difficulties are there, but with left prefrontal, the strongest one. If you noticed, she is focused learner with 138, which is a multidisciplinary number. Just because the emulative percentages are less, the stimulative percentage is slightly on the higher side. It has brought down to the focused learning. In my opinion, as a child, she is a focused learner. As an adult, she is a multidisciplinary learner kind of a capacity. That is why her university percentage is way higher. So I think the difficulties during that middle age, maybe below 20 and maybe below 22, has now completed more or less. Now her performances will definitely come stronger and stronger, except that she doesn't use the mouth to communicate. But you have to understand, there is so much of feeling based understanding the people is there. This is what we call the motherly feelingness, motherly kind of knowing, the intuitive ability. So I think it's a great boon to her that visually that is brings in a lot of dynamism in the thought process, and feeling that is coming from the right brain qualities. I think this is a very good combination that goes towards the environment, the nature, the plants, all that biological, the nature created living world is definitely very comfortable there. We usually say that those who have mouth will earn money. Okay, in Tamil it is being told that vaayulla pulla kolachikuvan. Okay, if you can speak, you make money. And that is something, yeah, she cannot do that, not because she cannot speak. It is not, she cannot speak just for the sake of converting that energy into a currency. That is not happening here. So she will, very first time, we are seeing such a strong 12.9 as a cosmic intelligence. I think she's outgrown to her age. She may be 23 or 24, but her thought process is much beyond 30 plus kind of thing. So she is psychologically maturing very fast, but obviously the domestic materialistic life, she would definitely have some difficulties that she will have to go through. Very interesting observation for me is that mother is very strong with the left temporal, and both the sisters or both the daughters are a big challenge for the mother. So I think these children have come to this family to offset, to teach a lesson to the mother that too much of verbalizing, we are not going to respond to that. You can terrorize us, but it cannot make an internal impact. we can just be a responsive children. And I think just the three temporal lobes, C3A1, X1A1, and X3 and C3X. It's a very, very difficult combination. I have not come across any brain design, if my memory is serving me right. We have not come across anyone with a temporal lobe in India where the temporal lobe is X3 and C3X. Maybe I have not come across, or maybe I have not discussed about it in any sessions. So that's a very, very rare combination. So the first daughter has come saying that you can keep talking, I'll listen to it, I'll not respond to it. So non-responsive, though prefrontal lobe wants to give a feedback, but it is not, verbalizing is not coming through, verbal it is not happening. Non-responsive first daughter and very sensitive second daughter with a C3X on the right temporal. She can be easily triggered with whatever words that is being told. So I don't know, just for the sake of making a statement, I am saying that is the first daughter came, and probably mother found a very simple question where she can just bombard and she will just listen, she may not retaliate, kind of thing. Then nature gave another daughter who would tell the mother, mind your language, I am not happy with this. That reactionism, the responsiveness is very strong. Though she is also a right brainer, still that small x in the temporal lobe is a very, very sharp, verbally responding, irritating, emotionally busting out. All that would come when the small x is being triggered. So it's a very interesting combination of three feminine energies, but with three different kind of patterns coming together. And both the daughters are influencers, fairly good influencers. And the mother is left brainer. One daughter is the right brainer, but if you trigger, she would be a left brainer. And this girl is appearing to be a left brainer, but because not verbalizing, it will appear to be more a right brainer because it's like I would say, it's like a dumb person. Okay, they don't. The last thing she wants to do is to give back, to talk back, to respond, to react, and kind of thing. And before I conclude, I would just like to add one more, observation. The right sensory is the jnanendriyas, the receptive ones. The left sensory is about the karmendriyas. They are participating in the karma, the actions that we do on a daily basis. The very interesting observation that I see is out of the three sensory lobes, the most dangerous compartment of the left sensory is the left temporal one. I am a strong believer that the human being's major contributor for the karmic baggage, the garbage that is being built, is coming from the temporal lobe, the left temporal. Here, because it is an X1, she is blessed to have the least karmic result that is coming from the talking by verbalizing. We all know when you utter a word, because it is temporal lobe, it's like a reverberation happening 100 times. Though it may go to an unaudible level, but they exist in this surrounding for a very long time. The physical action is an instantaneous karma. The verbal action is a long-term karmic baggage or karmic results or karmic responses will happen. That is why in all our epics, if you see The curse of one individual has resulted in another person making one more curse, and that curse gets into other person. So if you read Mahabharata and Ramayana and all the mythological epics and all, you will see somebody had a curse. That curse makes the person to get born again and then continue the travel to annihilate the curse. So I believe that Amrutha is fortunate not to build any curse or any karmic responses in this birth, which will indirectly enhances the power of the cosmic intelligence. Because those who are talking to themselves, that's the left temporal does talking to themselves. That is why they are, when it is very strong, they are shy and introverted. They don't talk much with others. But here, the verbalizing it's like a sharp knife. It cuts and it hurts very badly. That is why anything we speak to others, when they hurt, we might say sorry. But still, your sorries will not reverberate for a very long time. As much as your words that could have hurt the individual to a very large extent. I hope I have communicated it rightly. The left temporal is the most dangerous compartment of our life because of it. Though because it comes, money comes, the wealth comes in, all that is coming. We are glorifying it and probably causing more karma. We are accumulating more karma. That's because of our words that is being told. We all understand once money comes into the individuals, then they look down people and they say all that abusive things out of arrogance. So I personally believe arrogance of an individual comes from the word smart, and word smart people need to be very careful and conscious about what is that they are speaking. That is why the meditation, the silent is the best possible mechanism to handle our life in the best possible way. If we can keep our mouths shut, I think we are doing a great service to the society and the humanity at large. But we somehow are glorifying that without language, if you don't communicate, what will happen? But I believe that the bane of high word intelligence has surpassed the boon that has come from the left temporal. So I believe that the left temporal is the most dangerous weapon, and we have heard it in so many other languages and other words, that there is one tongue and it never gets any illness. It never takes rest and it never stops. And that is the boon and that is the pain of the whole human being. The tongue is given to us not only to speak, it is also given to us to use it for our digestive process in a much more conscious way. But people, those who are very strong with their word intelligence, tend to speak a lot while they are eating. Thereby, their quality of life definitely gets compromised. So I would like to see the brighter side of low word intelligence. I think it's a blessing in disguise. I think we will learn a lot from Amrutha in the coming days with her comparatively lower word intelligence. I will still consider it as for a female and for a person who would mind her words and speak very little, not very overly communicating and misunderstanding. Most of the time, human relationships are getting spoiled only because of too much of conversation, too many words being spoken. That is why I continue to believe that if you go to any Indian restaurant, If it is silent, means you cannot believe. All the restaurants, they appear like your vegetable market or the fish market. So much of noise will be there. I think this is the crux of this civilization, that people go everywhere, they are speaking and talking and talking and talking. What do they talk about? They talk about others, and they talk about becoming rich. These are the two subjects they most of the time they speak. It is either connected with the money or it is connected with the honey. One of them becomes a very strong, subject for talking. So I'm happy to have Amrutha in the family to give a holistic perspective of life. I think it is worth taking all the X designs into one group and trying to see the world from their point of view. That would be very, very interesting and differently looking into life. So I think that we are blessed to have different designs in our network. I think if you can integrate all of them and put together and give some topic to just give their viewpoint, for others can be spectators. I think I will work on it, make an X group, and then take up some sessions on some topic, and let us hear from their perspective, which is definitely unconventional. It would be, and that will be a great opportunity for all of us to see the world from their perspective. It will definitely be more interesting and exciting as well. So with that, I would like to thank Amrita for her session. You definitely surprised me and given me a very interesting perspective of your presentation, and I am happy that your mother and your sister, all of us, all of you are together sitting across and learning about it. I am sure that your family and the way you will go through rest of your life of all the family members would not be like before. So you can very clearly, all three of you can see before MiDNA and after MiDNA, before GBP and after GBP. And we would like to really hear from all three of you in some occasion. So please prepare, your family members should share your experience collectively. Your mother can speak also because she talks very well. So let us prepare one small session for your family members. We would love to hear from you, and that would be very interesting. So enough time is there. Let us see whether we can have one session from any of your family members. Just casually sharing a feedback kind of thing would be very interesting for us to hear. So we'll think about it in the coming days. So thank you everyone for your time. If any one of you would like to just give any feedback, you can do so. I'll wait for 15 seconds, then we can